Mike's good? Okay. I wish I wasn't here today, actually. But, and so I have a little program that I'm going to do, and it may take a little bit more than Lauren's 5 minutes. But I'm going to just ad-lib a bit at the beginning, and I've got something to read out that I've done, and at the end I'm going to ad-lib. So my first ad-lib is about knowing Ken. I didn't know who he was, but I one day went to the post office way back in probably 1980, and Mr. Ripley, who was the postmaster at the time, the local gossip in the community, he told me about this guy that had come in, had repeatedly come in, tall, gentlemanly, and was sending off these weird parcels, these little narrow parcels, to all over the world, and they were insured for thousands and thousands of dollars. This guy couldn't figure out what was going on. And so, nor could I, actually. But it stuck in my brain that, hey, this is a typical Galiano person, something really strange here. And then shortly after that, wasn't very long after that, is the whole thing with clear-cut alternatives happened when there was logging in our park at Kinesio Point. And I know Ken showed up, I eventually showed up, and we became friends, and we had a common ground. So that was before I ever knew Ken, I knew about him, right? Which is kind of neat. So now I'm going to read what I've written about Ken and my time together, which has been 25 years. We've been very good friends, and we've done a lot of stuff together. And at the end, I'm going to tell you a couple of anecdotes about Ken and me, and a couple of stories. I've got hundreds of stories, but this is going to be 2. Okay, Lauren? So I'm going to read this. I first met Ken at a clear-cut alternative meeting in the 1980s. They, CCA we call them, they were an ad hoc group who revolted against clear-cut logging in our local park at Coombe Bay, at the north end of the island. I think for both of us, it was a first in island politics. Out of that demonstration of community concern, MMB agreed to be part of a Forest and Land Use Council to deal with the possible future of their lands on this island and the ongoing logging operations. Ken, myself, and Gary Moore were the community representatives, along with 2 local MLAs and various senior MMB personnel. We had many, many meetings about logging practices, sustainability, and the impact of their development plans on Galiano. Throughout these many meetings, Ken was solid, totally ethical, stubborn in defense of Galiano and its environment. Subsequently, MMB decided to develop their 60% of our island, and we formed a group, the Galiano Conservancy, to in fact buy the land from MMB on behalf of the community. Ken and myself, Caroline Camfield, and many others took the battle on. One we almost won, actually. We met with Mel Couvelier, the Minister of Finance of the day, Jim Pattison, BC's wealthiest developer, and MMB board members, Ray Smith, president of MMB, and many other politicians. But MMB simply sold their land to individual speculators, so we lost that battle. Ken's response was to turn Galiano Conservancy into a full-blown land trust and educational institute. This group first acquired Mount Soodle from a retiring FM radio firm, and then went on to acquire various island properties to preserve and protect, leading up to this spectacular learning center that we have here today. This is Ken's legacy for all of us, and all of his dedication to youth and nature and Galiano itself. Also, in order to get a downtown presence for the GCA, the Conservancy, Ken, Linda, Chris, my wife, and myself bought the Deli Mall and provided the Conservancy a place to operate and do their many valuable programs. Excuse me. Ken, never wanting to be a businessman, left the management to me, but was always trusting and trustworthy. Never a bad word between both of us in all those 20 years. Ken was extremely dedicated and focused, almost a gentle obsession. We were both socialists in the sense we wanted to make Galiano a better place for us all. He was so totally dedicated to the Conservancy and all it meant to Galiano. And so now, my last ad-libbing, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. One of them, which was we in meeting to buy the land. This is all about. We met with Jimmy Pattison, who is the big guy in DC, as you all know. Save on Cruise, the whole show. So we went to his office, Carolyn and Ken and myself, and it was on the 25th floor of a building anyway, high-rise that he owned in Vancouver. So we go to this building, and we go to the office, his office, and he's on the phone talking to somebody in God knows where in the world, right? So we had this little bit of time, and he had a hallway full of photos of himself, always standing on a box because he was a little short guy, this guy. Right? Well, with the Queen, with the Prime Minister, the President of the United States, I mean this, and so we're all, Ken and Carolyn and I are looking at this, and we started to laugh because this guy's always on a box, right? And so then we meet with him, and we had previously had a meeting with one of his people that used to work for him, and they said, this guy's only going to give you 10 minutes. That's it. After that, you got to earn it. Okay, we were there for an hour. And Ken was so stoic through the whole thing. I mean, I kept looking at him. I mean, this guy's a big deal. But for Ken, he was not a big deal. Ken didn't do that. He just sat there and answered the questions, raised the issues, and we giggled a bit about after the whole thing. And so that was one story. And then here's the big one. There was a dedication of the park at Dionisio Point, what we call Coon Bay. I refuse to call it. It's Coon Bay to me. And we had gone there, and it was invitation only to people. You know, it wasn't open to the whole island. They were dedicating this park, and there was 2 helicopters on the beach, Minister of Forests, and MMB people, right? And so we went for a walk in the woods with Bruce Francis, who was the manager of Chemainus Woodlands that controlled this area. And then I think it was a setup in hindsight. But anyway, he said, I want to introduce you to Ray Smith, the president of Milne Bovell. So Ken and I walked over and shook his hands, and he had an entourage around him. So he said to this entourage, get away. So they all backed off. These are vice presidents, they're not little guys, right? And so they backed off about 100 feet away or so, and Ken and I are standing there, and this guy starts swearing, swearing at us. We're ruining his life. We're ruining his company. And all the F words, the whole show. And so Ken, his mouth just went, oh, because I don't think Ken, I've never heard Ken swear in his life. His mouth just opened up wide. And then it took me about 30 seconds, and I started swearing back. That's the way I operate, by the way. And so Ken never said a word. He was totally stoic. He just stood there. He couldn't believe that here's this guy, one of the biggest businessmen in the province. Right, this was the largest forest company in British Columbia, right? And now, having been bought up by Miranda, that this guy would behave in that manner. I mean, I was, until I got my wits and swore back. And then at the end of it, he walked away back to his tenders or wherever the people were hanging around him. And Ken and I just looked at each other and started laughing. Because we thought we won, and we did win. So basically, Ken was a really, really, really good guy. And we formed this company to do that, and I saw him on a daily basis. He was so honest, I know he never lied in his life. Linda probably didn't. And, you know, what can I say about him? He was just, and many people have told me in the last few days that he's left a hole in this community, and he has. And, you know, it's up to us to fill it for him, right? To make it work. And this learning center and this property is his dream, it's his legacy. And I hope we all, I'm going to miss him anyway, just so you know that. Okay, bye.